10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Just One Word with Jan. It's a lovely day here. I don't know about where you are, but the sun is shining. I say it's lovely, but God's definitely got a sense of humor because he sent me to Lincoln, and I have to say I love Lincoln. However, I do not like the weather in Lincoln. The weather in Lincoln is always windy. It's very flat in Lincolnshire, and it's always windy. The sun is shining today, but it's still windy, and I don't like wind. So, I always say, Lord, you've definitely got a sense of humour because you set me up here. And I remember years ago saying to him, Lord, please send me somewhere hot. And afterwards I thought, I didn't mean spiritually. I wanted the sun. I'm a sun lover. I like to worship the SON in the SUN. That's heaven to me. So when the sun comes out, I brighten. Everything is lighter, and I'm ready to do anything. I get more energy when the sun shines. I don't mind walking. I'm not a lover of walking. I do it. And I do it when I'm all wrapped up in a scarf and gloves and hat and mittens and boots and what have you, and 3 layers. I do it then, and all the time I'm thinking how righteous I am, how self-righteous I am for doing all this exercise. But when the sun shines, I will walk every day when it's beautiful. When I was in Cyprus with my son recently, I went out every single day walking. And I don't, and how far I walk, when the sun is shining and it's not too cold, the breeze isn't too much, then I'm happy. So today, beautiful, but it's windy. But the wind tends to drop a little bit later. And so as we get closer to the middle of the year, which is 21st of June, I think is the longest day. As we get closer to that, then hopefully we'll get more daylight hours where there's no wind, and I'll be able to go out and enjoy the sunshine without a lot of wind. But the only wind I do like is the wind of the Holy Spirit. And so today I've got a woman of God with me who is a powerful woman of God. I've known her for more years than I can actually remember. She'd probably remember better than me. But it's Pastor Deborah Brink. She pastors Hope Christian Centre in Staines along with her husband Stuart, and she's a mom and a grandmother, a glamorous grandmother, and she's a powerful woman of God. I've watched her minister, especially in the prophetic, very strongly over the years, and so I'm going to welcome her now. So Deborah, welcome.
Hi Jan, thank you so much for having me on your today also, and thank you for those kind words.
Well, yeah, you can pay me later, but no, I mean, we've known each other for a lot of years.
Actually, it's 30 years this year.
Is it? Gosh, 30 years.
30
yeah.
years.
And when I first met you, you didn't look a lot different, actually. I mean, except your hair was different color, but you and Stuart have aged really well. You're still looking great.
Thank you.
So, but when we first met, you had just come over from South Africa.
That's right.
So
and,
tell me.
About Michael Bassett, he was the bridge. My pastor in South Africa at the time, Good Hope Christian Centre, Reverend Neville MacDonald, he was the bridge. He was a connection with Michael Bassett, and he sent an introductory note in advance, and so Michael Bassett was the bridge. He was leaving the UK as we entered. He was going to the land of promise, America, the States. He was moving, and we came in, and he solidified that transition for us by the grace of God.
That he's got a lot to answer for, hasn't he, Michael?
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking forward to his celebration of life in a few weeks, and I keep hearing these stories about how Michael connected He was
Mm.
a great connector, and I was pastoring one of his churches at the time. I think we were in Weybridge when you first came, weren't we?
Weybridge, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
in that little tiny place, that little office. Yeah.
I remembered when I came, they invited us to come around to Weybridge because he had the work and invited us to his home. When we got there, the day you were away, I think celebrating a wedding anniversary or something, you were in the States. So I only saw you when you came back. I remembered that day. It was really strange for me because we come out of a very large congregation, 2,000 in South Africa, and in this small place with this very tall, I think 6'6" young man, who had this baritone voice, who was singing with his, and I thought, what am I doing here? This doesn't feel right for me. And as I was sitting there, the presence of the Lord just came upon me, and I thought, Lord, what's going on? And then when Stuart and I, my husband, we left to go after the church service to go to the barbecue or to Michael's house, he asked me, Deborah, what did you think? And I didn't want to say anything to him yet. I said, well, what did you think? He said, no, tell me. I said, a strange thing happened. The presence of the Lord came upon me. And he said, yes, me too. So what do you think? He said something to me, and he said, Deborah, I think it's not what we came to receive here. It's about what God has got in us to give. And that was just such a turnaround way of thinking, because, you always come to receive. Not that there wasn't anything to receive, but Michael actually wanted to put us in a place to help build, And so that was just beautifully said. And of course, things just took place from that point, and you came back, and my husband, he got appointed to do the praise and worship, and I was just there supporting. But God was just gracious from there for us, started the journey.
I mean, you did praise and worship as well. I mean, you were. I mean, you're not a singer, are you? Really?
It's so kind of you, saying it so beautifully and gently.
And yet, you led praise and worship. I mean,
I did. It was strange, wasn't it? I mean, everyone's strange. Let me tell you something light about, my voice. My father, when I was a little young girl, and I sing in front of the mirror with, the hairbrush or whatever, and he would say to me, Deborah, please, he'd knock in his pocket and say, yes, some money, go to the movies, but whatever you do, stop the singing. So, I was so glad that the criteria for Christ was to make a joyful noise, not to have. But my husband's got a beautiful voice. But in that situation that we were, building with you guys, with everyone else, the work that Michael had started, the situation was that we needed musicians, and we had a pianist, we had a bassist, and we had a drummer. And Stuart sings beautifully. And he said, Deborah, you lead. And I said, you must be joking. He said, no, I will sing from behind. You just lead. And we managed to find a way to make that work for us,
yeah.
And it worked. I think it worked very well.
It did work, and I used to use it as an example of leadership and submitting to leadership, because Stuart was the worship pastor, so he was the worship lead. So he was overall over the worship team. He decided who was going to do what, when, and where, what songs you're going to sing, and everything. But when we were worshiping, you were leading, and he would submit to you. You would direct him, and he would submit to you. And I've often used that over the years as an example of leading in your place. That because you're a leader doesn't mean that you're always a leader, that some places you lead and other places you follow. And yes, Stuart was the leader of the worship team, but when we were worshiping, you were the leader and he followed you. And that was just a great example. So, yeah.
So that was something that Stuart and I had many laughs about, because I remember one day, I think it was Glenn Arikion, came to the meeting, and then we were in Adelston at the time. and he brought his brother, and he said, I brought him to come and show them about this praise and worship league, you know. And then we started to laugh. My husband said, you see, God has got a sense of humor, Deborah. Well, you really, I do qualify. He uses the foolish things to go and, you know, go and find the wise. But God was gracious to us, yes, because, I mean, the presence of God was really, really great. And, you know, beautiful.
Yeah.
Thanks for
And
the opportunity, you know, Jan. I mean, and God, I mean, for us just to develop and grow there, it was a great place of growth for us, you know.
and for your girls.
And the girls.
I mean, you know, they were kind of this high, but even then they were singing, even then, weren't they?
Yes, they loved standing with their dad and singing with did. They really did.
So after Addlestone, when we closed the church there, and we had some good times. I remember we all went together. Do you remember with Adrian and Paul? We went to Isle of Wight.
Isle of Wight, yes.
Isle of Wight. Had a really good long weekend at the Isle of Wight. And wasn't it you who bought a mirror?
I've still got the mirror.
And we had to fit it in. It was this great big mirror. We had to fit it in the back of the car. So.
Thank you so much for your forbearance, everybody.
But they were just good times of just seeking the Lord and worshiping God together and fellowshipping together, and really good because God just put us all together, and so, you know, as a team. But then, you know, it came when we closed the church, I still had the Bible school in London, but closed the church in Surrey. And you guys then, at the beginning, you didn't start a church straight away. So tell me the journey of when we finished our church in Addlestone to starting Hope Christian Centre.
Well, when we finished the church, you know, we felt that it was the season had come to an end, and there were people that of the congregation that was left behind. We were concerned about them, and a question was asked for us if we would lead them, and we just felt no, that was not what God had, you know, called us to do. At that time, we were part of the bigger work with you, and once they were planted, and we kept, you know, notes in touch with them, and we were then at peace about that. And we asked, where do we go? So we decided we were going to we visited one of the churches at the time that some of our people, congregation, had it settled at. But unfortunately, when we got there, it was so disruptive, our presence, because those of our congregation, previous congregation, turned around and was saying to the pastors, oh, look, here's our pastors. And we felt that was causing a bit confusion. So we stepped away from that as well. And we just prayed and sought the face of the Lord, you know, and then we decided, okay, we're going to start something now, my husband and I. We prayed about it, something that, you know, because we are here, we were trying to settle in, and we just felt that was the next thing to do. And, you know, we got in, you know, we contacted you, and you were, you know, supportive of that as well. And then we started the work in a school hall at 2:00 in the afternoon. I mean, it's just such an unusual time, but for us it worked because of our children's schooling, and they had things going on at the school. On some Sundays they used to march because they were at the particular school they had to do, and they had to attend certain things on, and so we thought at 2:00 in the afternoon would be fine. It was a bit of a trial and error initially, but by the grace of God, what started off many times thinking, well, what have we done? It started to grow by the grace of God. And, you know, from there, it just went stronger and stronger until we moved into a building, our own little building. And we still are today. And hopefully we'll continue to be there or expand in some way.
Now, you've glossed over that bit. This building, which they can actually see in one of the videos we've got today of Hope G. This building, this is a massive building in Staines. Like, you know, tell us the story of the building, Deborah.
Well, the story of that building was that one of the words when we left South Africa, and on our sending out day, when we left, the day we were traveling, our pastors called us up, and of course they prayed and they sent us, and we, left at that on that particular day. One of the prophetic words were that buildings, buildings, buildings. That is always a word spoken of me: buildings, buildings, buildings. And so on that word, we went looking for a building because my husband was sick and tired of packing out and setting up and everything else. And then we decided, okay, the day when he was most fed up, I said to him, "Are we in agreement? Let's go and find a building." He said, "Yes, I'm in agreement." And so we got in the car and we drove around the whole of Staines. We were in Staines at the time, and we still are. We drove around and we found close to the station, there was a little narrow road which we hadn't seen before. And we went in, and when we drove, it was a whole open site parking lot, and there were buildings on the site. And he looked at the building and he said, "That's the building for us." And it was closed. There was an adult education center. It was part of that, but that particular building was closed. And so we made inquiries about that building, and they were open to, they directed us to the company that was dealing with the sale and rental of the building. And they asked us, they offered us a rental, which was way beyond what we could afford. And then while we were busy negotiating with that, the agent offered it to someone else and told us it was no longer available. I was a bit angry about that. And then I said to my husband, "Okay, just leave it." And a week or two went by, and I said, "We haven't heard anything. Why don't we just try and explore and find out about it?" And then one of our congregants who knew the municipal people and the municipality, and knew the people that deals with this, found out that the agent had actually gone to the council and redirected them and told them that the other people, those other people who were interested, were more preferable to us, and they would get a better rental. And of course, I was even angry, and I said, "Lord, we said, Lord, this is not okay." A few weeks later, Miles and I decided we're going to go back into renegotiate. So we called him up, and I said to him, "Well, you better go ahead of me because, I might just say the wrong thing. We've got different strengths, and he's a pacifier. He can pacify and still the stormy waters where I might churn up the waters." And so we went and we sat at the table, but unbeknownst to the agent, we were aware of his shenanigans, what he had done. So we didn't say anything, and we started to negotiate. And in that conversation, we found out that the company that he would offer the building to had fallen flat. They just couldn't come up with, for some reason. And so yet was on the table. Then they asked us, "What do we want to pay?" I was so, I wanted to say nothing. I wanted to say £200, but I felt a bit embarrassed to say that. I mean, as a church, we should have at least something. So I said, "How about we make it £500? And they were asking for £2,400 business rates at the time. And we said £500, and they gave it to us for £500. And we've had it then from there. We cleaned up the building, we moved in the building. And a few years later, they said they're closing the adult education center, and we have to go as well. So we were looking for a place, and just before we had to go, I got a phone call, and I said, "Look, we're not going to, we're not going to cause any problems. We're going to move." They said, "No, they're calling us to ask us if you won't please stay." So we stayed. That was in 2008 when all the shaking was going on, and then we stayed in 2008. And then a year or two later, a couple of years later, about 5 years later, they called us and they said, "The building on the other side, do you want to take it as well?" So we said, "Yes, we will take it as well." So we took the building, and then we just found out how much it's going to cost us to, and we just couldn't afford it. But then God miraculously made a way for us. What do they call them? I can't get to the right word. People who've got minor crimes and they've got to do community work. They came and they started to clean up the building for us. Started our painting. They started to do our painting, and they started to do our roof, and they started to do all of those things so that we could eventually move into the building by the grace of God. And so, you know, the favor. And so now we got the two buildings, and it still belongs to the local council. Well, there was a change of ownership, but the one building where we now have collaborated with our Portuguese friends, and they have a Portuguese service there every Sunday, and so it's great. And every Sunday they have a service there, and so we work together with them, and we use the big one and they use the smaller one. But the Lord has been gracious to us there, and you know, and we hope, we don't know, they've came, they said they want to do a medical center on that site now, but every time they've said that, God's plans have prevailed. So we're just continuing to have church and just see where God takes us from there. You know, one thing will lead to another.
Amen.
God is still growing.
Yeah, it's really exciting because obviously I come down about once a year or something, and I see the progress of the building and how it's being utilized, and the church and how it's growing, and it's been such a blessing to see how God has given you such favor. And I love it when we hear stories like that of the favor of God. Before we go on, I'm going to just play one of Hope Jean's songs, and then you can talk to me about who they are.
Okay.
Tightrope of life, broken and jagged ruins behind. I can't look down because it's too far to fly, and the road ahead feels too hard to even try. I wanna be free, I need to be always been there. And even in the mess I made, you still had grace to spare. You lift my head with an honor I don't deserve, and you clothe me in robes for royalty reserved. You set me free, you set me free. Set me free, release me to be free living in you. Make me whole again, bring hope again, heal my soul within. I just can't make it on my own. Make me whole again, bring a hope again, heal my soul within. I just can't make it on my own. You set me free, you set me free, free living in you. You set me free.
Great. So tell me, who are Hope Jean?
Ho Chin are my two little daughters that came over with me, the two older daughters that came over when you met us, Carla and Shara. And the story for them was that as they were growing older, you know, Carla used to write songs for our church, and we felt, you know what, you know, these songs are really lovely and we're enjoying it, but let's let it be tested outside of the church by others and not just by our voices. And then my daughter Carla has also been becoming a little bit frustrated because she wasn't getting the stimulation I think that she really needed from myself. I'd never walked the journey. I'm not a singer. I'm not a musician. My husband, although he's a musician, he was quite limited. We've been pressurized by school that we need to let her go out. You know, she's got a beautiful jazz voice, and they wanted us to do, you know, something great with her, and we didn't know what to do. And I remember saying, Lord, I don't know what to do with this girl. You know, where to next? What to next? And I remember sitting with her and saying to her, you know, Carla, why don't you just serve the Lord, lay this gift at the altar, and just sing in the worship team for now. And she was finishing her A levels at the time, and then with that she started university and she was singing, but there was just no outward growth and exposure for her. But she was faithful. She was being faithful in the ministry. She was writing songs, and then I remembered one night I was preparing for a preaching. It was my turn to preach that night, and as I was, you know, seeking the face of the Lord, my heart was just broken. I said, Lord, you've called me to lead people, and I can't even lead my own family, my daughter. I said nothing that night. I was really heart sore, and I ministered the next day, and en route home, I shared with my husband my thoughts, and we were driving, and I was really quite hot, so I was crying in the car, and I was saying, you know, I feel just so inadequate. He tried to comfort me, but he just listened to what I had to say. And the next morning when I woke up, as I woke up, God dropped a word in my spirit. And I literally rolled out of bed, holding on to this word, went onto the computer and typed it in. And it was the Gospel Music Association. And when I never heard of them before, I'm not in the music scene or the industry, and Gospel Music Association, and there they had this conference that was taking place in a week's time. And I went to my husband and I said, Stuart, I've seen this, and I really believe so, the Lord. You know, I know nothing about music or where this place I've never heard of before. This is what it is. We've got a little bit of money. Can I take this money and just take her over to the States and let us go and go to the Dove Awards and everything there? And he said he agreed, do it. And she didn't know, we didn't tell her. It was a 25th birthday also that year, so it was going to be a birthday present. And then I arranged with her work. And then on the Thursday night of practice, we said to her, tomorrow we're going to, what is it, this, country music starts in America. I can't get to the name of the place now. So we're going to the States. Nashville, yes. I said, we're going to Nashville. She said, what? She thought I'm joking. I said, yes, we're going to Nashville. We got on the plane, went to, she was in a total state of shock. Took her to Nashville. We got a place, we went, and the most amazing thing for us, we were walking on towards where the conference was. The music was coming out of the pavements. I mean, it was amazing for us. We just loved it. We just, everything was just new and strange for us. And at that conference, every person that she adored, praise and worship leader, was leading. They were giving some mentoring talks. And on the one night, Israel Houghton at that time, who was at the peak of his career, that was really someone that she adored at the time. And as we went and watched him, it was such a pity he had to go and we had to leave. And she said, Mom, I really would have loved to have met him. And as we're walking, we come to the crossing the traffic crossing. He's standing there with his wife. And I had to say to him, excuse me, I do apologize for, invading your privacy, but my daughter would really love to meet you. And of course, she met him there. It was just wonderful. And then we went to the Dove Awards while we were there. And when we were there, I said to her, I said, darling, look, this is your people. You don't know who they are, and you're looking at our little congregation at home, but this is your people, and God will make a way for you. And while we were there at the conference, we saw they were offering a training session for musicians and worshippers in the Rockies, in the Rockies, and it was in August that year, same here. So we came back full of fire, said to the church, the worship team, I'm taking you to the Rockies. They said how it was so expensive. I said, we can do it. They were so motivated. They were washing cars. They were, people were supporting us. Funds was coming in. People had to get their visas. Some people were refused. Some people were going, but we went. And the bass was refused a visa. So Shara said, I will learn bass. And she learned it in that 4 weeks before we went. She learned bass. Her fingers were all blistered. And we went up to the Rockies. It was in Colorado. It was an experience second to none for them. There they brought the music because we had to send the music. We had to send in advance the lyrics. We had to, have everything recorded. And they judged them. And they had to perform on certain nights and occasions. And they went up to the semi-finals. They were shocked. It was wonderful. There was different talks on legal side of it and copywriting. Everything you needed to know about the music industry came out of that. It was absolutely phenomenal. They made it to the semi-finals. They got excellent feedback. They had great critique for the music. And we decided then they're going to take the critique that they've been given, and they're going to take 2 years, and they're going to go back in 2 years' time. In 2 years after that, we went back to Nashville. That the conference was in Nashville, the training session, and the first runners up. They came they did so well, and that is where they started. I mean, it's more than 10 years ago now, and they started, and there was 5 of them altogether, but 2 fell away then, and they said no, they just weren't. And then the final lady fell away the last time, and they just were so devastated. They said then they don't think they could pick themselves up. She was a pianist, and then they got an invitation to go to Fiji, to come with them Fiji, and they had to pick themselves up. We said, no, you got to pull yourself together now. God has called you. Your anointing and your calling is not dependent on another individual. God will provide. We went to Fiji. Oh my gosh, what an experience, second to none. And they did so well. They were on TV in Fiji. They were part of the festival there. And we started working with the churches. We did some music training, and it was just a wonderful experience for them. And then last year? Was it last year or this year? I think it was last year. They produced some more songs that had been released, and they got the one song was nominated number 1 on the records, on one of the records. I don't even know the wording that they use. You see, I'm so bad with music. And so they were, for this year, they were nominated as number 1 for this particular genre, and as well. And so they've done very well by the grace of God. And they're doing well. And that song was their family really and friends in California. And there's some of them ministering in London and in Norway. That's where they're ministering, and they will be ministering again in Norway in the next couple of weeks as well.
You've ministered quite a lot in Norway, haven't you?
Well, the door just opened. They, of course, in South Africa as well. The door just opened in Norway in a strange way. The first country other than South Africa that the music was playing across the nation on the national channels, radio stations, was Norway. Someone invited them. One of our congregants moved to Norway, and they told the current church that they were at then about this group, and they asked us to come, and we went over, and that's where it started. The whole thing with Fiji was the gentleman in Norway was a Fijian, and that's how the one thing linked to another, and we got to Fiji as a result of that, with a few other ministries as well. So that has been great.
Amazing. I mean, Fiji is one of those places, like everyone gets invited to India and Africa, you know, but Fiji, hello. You know,
When I was getting when we part of the churches together in Staines and Laleham, or now Spelthorne, when they heard you again, they said that is a fake ministry. That's a fake mission field you're going to. Let me tell you, Jan, we didn't go to the Fiji that you would like to go to. The first place we went to was called Benga Island. And the history of Benga Island was they were cannibals,
wow.
and they ate their missionaries. You want to know about that? So when we got there, after all that traveling, 20 some odd hours and everything else, got there, we had to go on a boat. And on the boat, we missed the time that they asked us to be there. When we got there, we were a bit late. So it was on this little boat, and there was 25 of us. And you had this little engine saying chug, 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 chugging along. The sun set immediately. It's dark. There's no twilight. And as we came out of the harbor, the waves, we just was like brick walls in front of us. And you were like me traveling from the
I've lost Deborah. Her internet has died on her. I'm sure she'll be back in a minute. While she's gone, let me play you a little commercial.
Has gifts, talents, and characteristics that make them unique. Learning about your primary characteristics and why you act the way you do can help you to understand yourself. Identify your gifts and live a more meaningful life. Spend some time discovering and exploring your true self. Register for the free Motivational Gifts Masterclass now, and you'll be surprised to find out how much potential you have. www.themotivationalgifts.com.
Yeah, so I don't know what it is about all my guests have trouble with their internet connection, but I'm sure she'll be back with us in a minute. I just thank God that I've got the fastest connection that's available in this country, and I still struggle sometimes, but some stories about Deborah and Stuart and the girls. Deborah is, like I said, she's a worship leader, and even now when she preaches or when in her church, she will sometimes lead, but she's an amazing preacher. This lady, she really hears from God. One of the things that I've noted about Deborah over the years is she really seeks the Lord. She doesn't just just come up with a standard message. She really seeks the Lord. So if you ever want to have somebody like Deborah come and preach in your church, then you can't do better than have her come, because she really is a wonderful preacher. Her husband is the music guy. He preaches too, but she's really she's kind of the primary preacher. He's real gentle, real sweet, and he plays guitar, he plays drums, and he sings, and he loves the Lord, and he's just a kind of a gentle man, which is lovely. But Deborah is the powerhouse. So, if you want a powerhouse to come preach for you, then get in touch with her. I'm sure you can get in touch with her on their website, hopechristiancentre.co.uk. So, I've preached for their church several times. They have a great church down there in Staines, and it's always been a real privilege to work with them and their girls. And seeing the girls grow up has been a real privilege, because they're not just singers, of course, they preach too. And they're both married now. I told you that Deborah is a grandmother, You saw her son-in-law, her handsome son-in-law, on the video that you saw there with her granddaughter, their lovely little granddaughter. And then I think last year, might be the year before, because I'm not very good at keeping time. I have to think about times and dates and things. And then, her other daughter, Carla, got married. She married a lovely guy as well. So they're both lovely married girls. But as yet, Carla doesn't have any children. So Shara and Zach do. The church in Staines, if anybody is around Staines, it's at 10:30 in the morning, but they're always there a bit earlier, and it's at the old granary, I think it is. We just know where it is now. We just get there. But one of the things that I love about Deborah and Stuart is that they're just loving people. They just love the Lord and they love people, and they're very gracious people, which has been a blessing to know them. So I don't know what's going on with Deborah at the moment, what her struggle is there, whether her iPad's run out of power or what. But let me talk to you a little bit about what's going on. Pastor Michael Bassett, you saw him a few weeks ago, just before he went home to be with the Lord. And on the 24th of June, Saturday the 24th of June, we have a celebration of his life. I don't want to call it a memorial, because it's not a memorial. It's a celebration of the life of Michael Bassett. And I will be doing a program in June, not sure which date yet, but one Wednesday in June before that, where I'm going to honour Michael, and I'll be playing some of his stuff and his songs, and just doing a program to honour him, because he was such an amazing man of God. Almost every person that has been on this program has a story to tell about how Michael impacted their lives. So if you're in London on June the 24th, then Jesus House in Stonebridge Park, I think it is, northwest London, we are hosting a celebration of life, 3:30 for a 4 o'clock start. They'd prefer if you registered, and that'll be out on Eventbrite soon. But of course, everyone's welcome. It seats about 1,000 people, so people can show up there and come and help us celebrate the life of Pastor Michael Bassett, which was impacted so many people. He certainly impacted my life, and I'll tell some stories about that as we go forward. So one of the ladies that we had on here a few months ago, was a lady called Brenda Bray, who's in her late 70s and who became an intern for Mission 24, and went out to Uganda, and she's been going out on the streets in Lincoln. But, her story is one of seeing God move because of patience. I mean, patience. The Bible says, let patience have her perfect work, that you may be patient and wanting nothing. And with Brenda, about 4-5 years ago, we started praying because God had given her a vision to go out on the streets of Lincoln. She spoke to the pastors, and it seemed like it was throwing seed onto concrete. She would go out, nobody would come with her. It was, a labor of love, and then a couple of years ago, she was getting a little bit disheartened just after COVID, because someone else came on the scene. They had different vision to her, and she was ready to kind of give up a bit. And I said, no, this is God gave you the vision. That's the word for someone. I don't know who it's for, but listen, God gave you the vision. And the vision is for an appointed time. Don't give up. And so I said to her, no, it doesn't matter. This person is a lot younger than you, and so on. God gave you the vision, and it's for you to run with it. So she said, you're right. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep on, keep believing God and trusting. And she did. And a few weeks ago, she went out on the streets of Lincoln, and there were almost 20 people joined her. People showed up to sing. There were people that came from other cities to come and help. And God did amazing things. There are, I think, 11 people gave their lives to Christ, and several people received their healing. And they're going out every 2 weeks, going out onto the streets of the city of Lincoln. Last time they went out, there were 15 people from nobody, from just Brenda going out on her own. Suddenly, God did it. Suddenly, God said, yeah, you've been faithful, girl. I'm going to bring the people in. And so they're out again on Saturday. They're out all day. And every time they have conversations with people, they're sowing seeds. It's not a big, heavy beating people over the head with the Bible. It's a reaching out to the gospel. It's having people sing and minister and just talk to people. And God is doing something amazing. So what a blessing. So I'm really thrilled that, that's working, that she's able to do that, because, it just shows, doesn't it, that if you hold on and if you keep going and if you just keep faithful to the promise that's been given to you. See, God is faithful, but his time is not our time. God's timing is different to our timing. Somebody said, well, God comes in the 11th hour. And then someone else said, no, he doesn't come in the 11th hour. He comes in the 11th hour in the 59th minute. But then I heard, no, God doesn't come at the 11th hour and the 59th minute. Sometimes he comes at a minute past midnight when it's dead, because God is the God of resurrection. It's never dead. If God promised, he will see it through. Doesn't matter timing. He says, having done all to stand, stand therefore, stand. Because sometimes you can't, you think you can't stand anymore, but he never, ever allows you to be tempted beyond that which you're able to bear, without it gives you a way of escape. So keep on keeping on and just hang on in there. Now, I'm going to play another video by Hope Jean, because, they're so good. And Deborah hasn't managed to get back on yet. Don't know what's happened, but hey, we're still here. So let's play Hope Jean. And this is Old Habits, it's called.
I have been renewed, I am changed and new. This is how you save me from me. There is a thorn stinging in my side. Old habits die hard in pride. I have been renewed, I am changed and new. This is how you save me from me. There is a thorn stinging in my side. Old habits die hard in pride. I still need to be my new again, daily dying, leaving behind that old me who holds me down. You broke the chains a long, long time ago on that cross, when you told death no. When you told death no. Living in the truth was easy once I knew the words of your riddle and a story. Learning to forgive and love more than I live. God, I need your mercy. I still need to be my new again, daily dying, leaving behind that old me who holds me down. You broke the chains a long, long time ago on that cross, when you told death no. When you told death no. Realize the truth, understanding you are the one that's truly holy. No matter what
welcome back. I understand you didn't even know you'd gone.
No, well, I thought you said, well, we'll talk about it afterwards.
Yeah, you thought I said I would go off like that.
And then I just continued talking, and you didn't come back, and I continued talking, and I saw people rolling, so I just kept on talking. And I
Suddenly you
thought,
were
well,
gone.
Dan, where are you? And then I kept on talking.
Well, you should still be able to see me when I go off. There's a little black and white picture of me. You should still be. But anyway, you just disappeared. So I thought, oh, maybe our batteries died. So I just didn't.
What happened?
Yeah, I have no idea. But anyway, I thought, you know what? That's okay. I'll just waffle till she comes back on. And I played a little advert for my motivational gifts course, and I talked a little bit about the word, and then I thought something's not right here.
I thought, because you've gone off early on, I thought, well, I'm just going to continue talking. So I was just talking all the time.
Everything you said, now is the time to say it again.
Well, I don't know where I stopped because I kept on.
I don't know either. You were talking about, you were in the middle, I think, of talking about Fiji and the big wave. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Anyway, but we went on the waters of the Pacific. It was absolutely pitch black and these massive waves, trying to get over the waves. We managed to get to Fiji, unbeknown to us that the people from Benga said if we can survive, this was the most difficult part of the ocean to cross. Really, it was the most dangerous part of the Pacific. They said if we survive it, they'll know we were of God. So we did survive, and we did arrive, and so by the grace of God we were there and we could minister to them. But in getting there, not only you come thinking you're ministering to them, but we were so blessed that we received more than we actually gave. It was just absolutely wonderful, life-changing experience for us.
I can imagine. I think that's great that this was the spiritual test. If you're of God, you won't die. Yeah. If you survive it, then you're of God. If you die, well, we know you weren't, so it's all right.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Obviously, one of the gifts we took with us for them, because we'd heard about the dangerous waters, we took them lots of life jackets. Our church sponsored life jackets. Yeah, it's for them, so we can take them so that all the lives are doing, just to help them along. But it was such a wonderful experience for us and for me, and I've got my little daughter, that I've adopted, a little girl.
Yeah,
was only little, and she had done so well. We traveled for 23 hours. Then we were traveling another hour. We were there about to get to the harbor, and then of course we were on the boat, and with the waves, and she just lifted up her arms and shouted, "Wee!"
oh, bless her.
And when she came to us, it was hard for her to walk up this road because she needed to be, just be in an environment where she feels safe. And to think that she could do that with us, it was just amazing.
Yeah.
She was super. And as a result of that, she loves traveling. She wants to know where next, where are we going to next? Let's go here, let's go there. So she's a bit of a traveler now. So
she's got missionary bug now. Yeah,
I'm telling you, no, she just wants to be on the go. That's all.
And she's so cute and so friendly. I mean, she's not in the least bit shy, is she? She's, she used to be. I remember when you first got her, she was a little bit reticent, wasn't she? But oh my goodness, when she got over it, now she's everyone's friend.
Gosh, yes. And then she says to me, "Oh, Moms, oops," because I told her the other day, that something's so private. Oops, Mom, you're not mad at me, did you? I told them this the other. I said, just please don't give out your bank details and your home address. That's all. But fine, she's such a joy. The Lord has really blessed us with such a joy. It's a whole new journey for us, but magnificent in every way.
Yeah, I mean, it's very brave of you because your two older girls were already grown. They were already working. In fact, wasn't it through Shara's work that you actually came?
Exactly, through her work that we met her. And yes, it was. And my husband's idea of retirement was lying on the beach, but it was not meant for us, obviously, because there's no lying on the beach, being comfortable although I'll be honest, I long for that sometimes. I do long for that.
Yeah.
That I could just go and lie down and rest. But you know what? I wouldn't change it for anything. I wouldn't change it for anything. There's just so much love that's in your heart that God gives you, and just to see what God is doing in her life, because it's not just about us that adopted her. We know that God has got a plan for her. So to watch this, I mean, when she came to us, there was a very negative report that was given to us about her health and condition, but within 6 weeks, those things had turned around already for us, and God was just so gracious to us, and she's growing just great now. She does have a few other health issues, but we trust the Lord that as she goes, you know, stronger and stronger.
And she's so at home in the church there. The church have really kind of adopted her and taken her as their own, haven't they?
Oh yes, they have.
Yeah,
They have.
wonderful.
And when we've been to had a doctor's visit some time ago, and they were going to take blood, and she said to the nurse, she said, "You better not hurt me, because he is a pastor, and he'll be very angry if you hurt me." Let me tell you now, the nurse had me petrified. I said, "It's true. It's true."
Oh, that's brilliant.
And she tells him, "My father is a pastor, so you better not hurt me. I'm telling you now." Oh, he loved that. He loved the story himself.
I bet, yeah. And I'm sure there'll be loads more stories like that. I mean, you know, and from all the girls, all the family, I mean, you know, they're all girls to be proud of. And I told people while you were off, I told people that, you know, you're a powerful preacher, and that they should come onto a Hope Christian Centre website if they want to get in touch with you and have you come preach. Because, you know, you're an absolutely, I know that, you know, one of the things that always blesses me about you, Deborah, is, you know, you always seek the Lord, and, you know, it's never just a kind of another day for you. You know, it's always seeking God to see what He's got to say, and you're faithful with the things of God. And you know that's for me, that's always been a real blessing. You know, you're a woman of integrity in the Word, and that's for me, that is really special. So yeah, I really appreciate you coming on. We've unfortunately running out of time because you know, we did miss a bit there, but it's been so good to have you on. It's actually gone so quickly. And you know, we'll have to do this again. Maybe we'll have to do it again with Stuart. Maybe get both of you on at some point. But I know that he was doing other things today as well. So, but yeah, such a blessing. Look forward to seeing you. We didn't even talk about, you know, the stuff that's going on quickly. Tell me about Abide.
Well, I did. I was talking to the people about Abide. There was no one to tell me what Abide is. Something that the music department decided post-COVID, just to get to a place where we're just going to worship the Lord, and not only our musicians, but bringing other musicians and other together, just to come for 1 hour and just worship the Lord. And it's been so wonderful, the presence of God. You know, and this month, it's not every month, it's every quarter we do it, and that's also on our website. We're doing it at one of the other local churches with their music team, and just coming together. And so, you know, it's just been such a wonderful place of release and healing and restoration. We don't know preaching, nothing. It's just coming there and just worshiping the Lord. And it's been absolutely wonderful, you know, in the presence of God and what He's doing in the midst. It's just great. Thank you,
I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Deborah. God bless you. And you know, I know that you're going to increase, and the church is going to increase, and you're going to increase, because you know God is faithful. Take care, my friend.
Love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake till I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful, and all my life you have been so